Well, those hoping to stop Donald Trump, coupled with those spending a ton of money to stop Donald Trump from winning the nomination, were delivered a huge blow last night as the Republican frontrunner won his home state of New York in an absolute blowout. John Kasich trailed way behind in second place, and Ted Cruz fared even worse in third. Trump did some delegate math, and here's what he's calculated.
We are going to be so strong again. We are going to be really, legitimately so great again, and I just can't wait. So, we don't have much of a race anymore based on what I'm seeing on television. Senator Cruz is just about mathematically eliminated. We're really rocking.
And just moments ago, Ted Cruz, vowing he's in it for the long haul, said this.
What is clear today is that we are headed to a contested convention. Nobody is able to reach 1237. I'm not going to reach 1237, and Donald Trump is not going to reach 1237. We're going to arrive in Cleveland with me having a ton of delegates and with Donald having a ton of delegates. The only condition in which I would leave the race is if it was clear there was no path to victory. At this point, we are headed on a path to victory.
But the numbers say this. Cruz was mathematically eliminated from achieving that 1237 number last night, so he seems to be relying on other methods. But as I've said here many times, I think Trump will hit that 1237, erasing those other methods. So, KG, your thoughts on what went down last night? And maybe even weigh in on Donald Trump. We had a little soundbite from Donald Trump's victory speech last night. A bit of a different tone.
Yeah, I think it was a good tone. It seems like there's some maturation along the election process there, which I think was much needed, especially also with branching out his operation. There's no way to, call it any other thing. The huge victory last night is very big numbers that he put up on the board. They thought that they would do well. They were shooting to be able to get, snag all the delegates. But that was a pretty commanding victory and a nice piece of momentum if you're a candidate going forward into the rest of these states to try and, finish the 100-yard dash versus the 90. Yeah.
Dana, one of the knocks on Donald Trump has been the woman vote, the female vote. He nailed 57% of that vote last night. That's pretty almost commensurate with his total vote totals.
Republican women in New York went for him, so that worked in his favor. But it's also, it's not just that he's got 100% name ID in the country, but people in New York know him and they really like him. And so I wasn't exactly surprised by that number. The numbers, though, nationally in a general election with women are, I would think, would be a concern for Donald Trump. He tried to do something last night, which is to make himself inevitable. And that's a smart thing to do. That's what a front runner would want to do. But Cruz is saying, after, not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, you get into more Cruz-friendly states, in his opinion, because the demographics line up for Trump with somewhat conservatives and not as evangelical states in the New England states. And then when you get farther out west, Cruz thinks he's got a chance. Yeah,
just to be he has to stop him from the 1237. Everyone said Donald Trump was expected to win his home state. He got 60% of his home state. I did a little math. Ted Cruz got 47% of Texas, and John Kasich got 47% of Ohio. So
that's when there were a lot more candidates in the race.
Right, but Trump did outperform the others in their home states.
Well, I mean, you can look at it this way. Trump did way better in Texas than Cruz did in New York, which may say that Trump has a broader appeal than Cruz does. I happen to think he does. But what's next? I think you're going to see a political equivalent of monkey in the middle. When you played that as a kid, you're going to have Cruz on one side and Kasich in the other. They're going to be throwing the delegates over so that Trump can't catch them. Reminds me of that thing that they do in Price is Right, where somebody bids $1,200 and then somebody bids $1,201. $1 more, and it's like it's perfectly legal to do, but it's kind of crappy. So I wonder if it's necessarily a good mood to keep going on this. What Trump has to start thinking about is how are you going to deal with Hillary, which means you've got to start thinking about their opposition research, what they have on you. And that means you've got to, sacrifice your ego and start talking to the people around you about what is she going to do to me? What is she going to come after me about? Because you've got to start building up your immune system, because the fact is your immune system wasn't hit by our media. Our media didn't touch you. So it's going to be, Hillary's not going to be as nice to you as all the networks were.
Geraldo, 172 delegates up for grabs next Tuesday night. Connecticut Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. And all the states that have polling have Trump anywhere between 14 and 20%.
I think, to Dana's point, I think Trump is inevitable. I think Cruz is old news. He's dead. He just doesn't know it yet. I think Bernie is burnt out. Trump, I spoke to him last night. He's ebullient. He's also angry at the so-called rigged system. I think he's going into those northeastern states, and he's going to get the lion's share, I believe, of those delegates. And if he's not at the magic number, he's going to be damn close to it, and I think he will be undeniable.
Can I point something out that both of you just said? You said Trump said brought up the rigged system, right? Isn't that Bernie's word? Remember when Bernie Sanders said the system, the government is rigged?
That's why they need to run together, the rigged brothers.
But is Trump doing what he does best, using those names and saying, hey, Bernie Sanders, if your guy's not the nominee on your side, come vote for me?
I like Trump when he's winning and not whining. I think it's time to let go of the constant thing about rigging.
I'm glad you brought tone back, because Kimberly suggests that you saw a different Donald Trump, much more presidential, quote-unquote, last night. That moderation did not last through today, because today is in Indiana, and he's all sharp elbows and, Lion Ted and all the rest. He was exactly back to where he was before he won that overwhelming victory here in the Empire State.
You can't change those spots.
Okay, well, listen to this. Last night, Hannity asked Trump's convention manager, Paul Manafort, about reports that Cruz would try to block the front-runner on a second ballot at the convention. Here was his response.
There's not going to be a second ballot, so there's not an issue.
And you're convinced?
We have several ways to get to 1237 by early June, and today was a giant step forward. We think we're going to have another great week next week, but more importantly, what you saw record turnout today in New York, and a record turnout with a primary that everybody knew Donald Trump was going to win.
And a lot of the talk, I'll start with you, Geraldo, on this. A lot of the talk is that Donald Trump might bring New York State back into play in the general election.
I think he would.
For the Republicans.
I think he would. Oh, I do point out that I voted in Manhattan, and I think that Manhattan is the one borough that went for Kasich, but the turnout was really big. And Trump, Dana says everybody knows him and everybody likes him. That's true, but it's bigger even than that. I submit that Trump is a movie star. Trump is a very, very compelling and charismatic person.
Control yourself, Geraldo.
And Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton.
Get him a drool cup.
Hillary Clinton, until last night, was very underwhelming as a candidate. Last night was her first time where she seems now inevitable.
I think Trump crushed Cruz and Kasich. He was like a steamroller over a pigeon. But there were 865,000 that voted in the Republican primary. The Democrats had 1.8 million. So that means you won now, but you're going to have to get a lot more out there.
But aren't there a lot more Democrats than Republicans? I mean, is that even a fair comparison?
That's my point.
That's what she's saying.
But think of this, though. 700,000 voted for Bernie Sanders. Now they're going to have to go somewhere. What do you think? They go to Hillary?
I think they go to Hillary, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is it's the New England states. I mean, when Hillary Clinton, when Barack Obama won re-election, that night she knew, when I go to run in 2016, I will start off with about 240 electoral votes, just looking at the map. Now, the map could look totally different than the map we've seen of the last several elections. But the blue wall, which is the New England states, I mean, this is Cruz's point, that Donald Trump could very well sweep all of those states next weekend or next Tuesday, and he'll do very well. But when it comes to a general election, the New England states haven't voted for a Republican president in like ages. Maybe all of a sudden this will change.
Well, would they vote for Cruz?
No.
Never.
No, that's Cruz's point.
Well, yeah, but the point being, so if it's Ted Cruz instead of Trump, you were going to have the Republicans have a worse problem.
Ted Cruz.
What? Go ahead.
Ted Cruz is going to go back to Uncle Festerhood.
All right. Can we talk about this?
This is what I think is amazing, is that we talked about the maturation of the campaign and how it's good that he's like not insulting people, and then we do it. I don't like to participate in the personal identity politics and the destruction of it.
My remark.
All right,
by the way, you meant Grandpa Al.
Let's stay positive, keep a positive tone. In order for Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, for that matter, to win a general election, they have to court the Hispanic vote. Can either one of those guys get the Hispanic vote?
Well, you certainly have to try, and why not? I mean, everybody's vote should be open and up for grabs, right, to try and persuade the candidates. I mean, look, Trump feels like he's got, a strong chance to be able to do it. Let's see.
Perhaps he can't do it.
Well, he's not going to get all of it, but he's going to get some Latinos
unless
and Hispanics.
he backs off this draconian, obnoxious, hideous policy of forced deportation of families, including citizen children, he will not get any meaningful Hispanic votes.
So what are we
saying?
If he won't do that, and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump both agree that a border wall should be built, you're down to John Kasich or someone else or losing.
This is the kind of the scary, the realization for Republicans that Trump took a big step to winning the nomination and Hillary took a big step to winning the presidency. Unless Trump can somehow convince the general electorate that he's not as extreme as Geraldo says, he's got to learn that it's more to life than white males, that there are other people out there. The other thing is he's got to convince these ideological conservative Republicans that he have alienated through the relentless berating of their principles that he's one of them.
Can he do it?
Well, on the Hispanic side, it doesn't. Whoever the Republican nominee is, it's estimated that because of the growth in demographics, that you need to win about 40% of the Hispanic vote. George W. Bush won 44%. McCain was around, I guess, 32% maybe. Mitt Romney, 27%. Donald Trump right now has an 85% disapproval rating with the Hispanic community. So if just pure numbers wise, you got to get 40%. You have a heck of a lot of work to do.
Do Cruz or Kasich get there?
Cruz and Kasich are slightly better, but not much. So yeah, everybody has a lot more work to do.
Trump's pivot hasn't taken place yet. It will. Once you have to be a crazy person to win the Republican nomination on the issue of immigration. Once it happens, he's got to pivot and pivot strongly and say, I didn't mean, of course, I'll prioritize. I'll go after the rapists and the drug dealers. I'm not going after Ma and Pa, Juan and Maria.
The wall won't be so high, and guess what? Mexico won't pay for it, something like that.
The wall will not be his priority.
He's not going to let Mexico off.